this meeting of Inverclyde Council. This meeting is held remotely and also in person and will be filmed and recorded for live subsequent broadcasts available through the Council's website. The Council is a data controller under the General Data Protection Regulations and the Data Protection Act 2018. We broadcast and record Council meetings to fulfil a public task obligation to enable members of the public to observe the democratic process. Data collected during the process will be retained in accordance with the Council's published policies available through the Council website. Members of the Council are reminded that they should follow the Council's established meetings protocols, including around the use of the chat facility, and that comments made in the chat facility are visible to all participants in the meeting, which may include members of the public who have also received invites to the meeting. Do we have any apologies or declarations of interest?
We have apologies for absence from Councillor McCormick, Councillor Nelson and Councillor Wilson. Provost will now move to an attendance roll call before proceeding to declarations of interest. Can the following members please indicate if they're present at the meeting either in person or remotely? Councillor Armstrong.
Present in the chamber.
Councillor Brennan.
Present in person.
Councillor Brooks. Councillor Cassidy.
In the chamber.
Councillor Clofferty.
In the chamber.
Councillor Crowther.
Present in chamber.
Councillor Curley.
Present in chamber.
Councillor Paisley.
Present remotely.
Councillor Jackson.
In the chamber.
Councillor Law.
Present in the chamber.
Councillor McCabe.
Present in chamber.
Councillor McCluskey.
Present in chamber.
Councillor McGuire.
Present.
Provost Mackenzie.
In the chamber.
Councillor McVeigh.
In chamber.
Councillor Moran.
In the chamber.
Councillor Quinn.
Present in chamber.
Councillor Reynolds.
Present in the chamber.
Councillor Robertson.
Present in the chamber.
Are there any declarations of interest?
I am registered as a volunteer with the McLean Museum in regards to agenda item number 5. Mr. Burnilton.
No other declarations of interest. Members have received a late item, a quote regarding a notice of motion regarding the closure of EE call centre, a notice of motion by Councillor McCluskey. I am prepared to take this motion at this late time due to the fact that the urgency of the matter and the reason being that the announcement was made only in the last week, and we will handle this piece of business at the end of the scheduled business. I'll go through the minutes. The appointment panel, head of regeneration, planning and public protection, shortlisting on the 6th of November, page 343. Councillor Clark, please.
I'll move to the votes.
Thank you. Is there anyone otherwise minded? Thank you. The same meeting held on the 30th of November, 344. Councillor Clark, please.
Yes, I'll move to.
Thank you. And the otherwise minded. Thank you. The Human Resources Appeals Board held on the 5th of December, page 345. Councillor Brennan.
Provost, I move it as a true reference.
Thank you. Is there anybody otherwise minded? Thank you. The Planning Board held on the 6th of December, 346 to 354. Councillor McVeigh, please.
Move this to record, Provost.
Thank you. Is there anybody otherwise minded? And the Local Review Body held on the same day, 355 to 356. Councillor McVeigh.
I move this to record, Provost.
Thank you. Anybody otherwise minded? Inverclyde Council held on the 7th of December 2023, 357 to 368. I will move that is a true and proper record. Is there anybody otherwise minded? Thank you. The special meeting of Inverclyde Council held on the same day, 369 to 370. Once again, I'll move that as a true and proper record. Thank you. The General Purposes Board held on the 13th of December 371 to 372, Councillor Moran, please.
Promise, I'll move it to true record.
Thank you. Is there anybody otherwise? Thank you. The Audit Committee held on the 9th of January, pages 1 and 2. Councillor Robertson, please.
Promise, I move this as a true record.
Thank you. Is there anybody otherwise? Thank you. The Local Review Body held on the 10th of January, pages 3 and 4. Councillor McVeigh, please.
Move this as a true record, promise.
Thank you. Is there anybody otherwise? Yep. Social Work and Social Care Scrutiny Panel, the 16th of January, pages 5 to 7. Councillor Brennan, please.
Promise, move it as a true record.
Thank you. Is there anybody otherwise? Thank you. Environment and Regeneration Committee, the special meeting held on the 18th of January, pages 8 and 9. Councillor Potter.
Yes, I'll move this as a true record, promise.
Thank you. Is there anybody otherwise? Thank you. The Environment and Regeneration Committee held on the 18th of January, pages 10 to 15. Councillor Potter again, please.
I'll move this as a true record, promise.
Thank you. Is there anybody otherwise? The Education and Community Committee on the 23rd of January, 16 to 20. Councillor Potter.
I'll move this as a true record.
Thank you. The Local Police and Fire Scrutiny Panel, the special meeting held on the 25th of January, pages 21 to 22. I will move that as a true and proper record. Is there any otherwise minded? Thank you. And the Inverclyde Council special meeting held on the 1st of February, pages 23 to 25. Once again, I will move that as a true and proper record. Thank you. The Policy and Resources Committee held on the 6th of February, 2024. 26 to 30. Councillor McCabe, please.
I move the minutes as a true record, promise.
Thank you. Is there anybody otherwise minded? Thank you. The Planning Board held on the 7th of February, 31 to 32. Councillor McVeigh, please.
Move this as a true record, promise.
Thank you, Councillor McVeigh. Is there anybody otherwise minded? Thank you. The Local Review Body held on the same day, 33 to 34. Councillor McVeigh, please.
Move this as a true record, promise.
Thank you, Councillor McVeigh. Is there anybody otherwise minded? Thank you. The Local Police and Fire Scrutiny Panel, the 8th of February, 35 to 37. I will move that as a true and proper record. Is there any otherwise minded? Thank you. There are, of course, pieces of private business that I think by your silence, nobody has any objections to any of the private business in the business in the private agenda, and therefore I'll take that. There will no need to go to private session at all. Thank you. Item number 3 in the agenda is the statutory review of the polling scheme. Page 1, Mr. Strachan, please.
Thank you, Promise. Your members will remember that we brought forward paper on the statutory review of the polling scheme at the September meeting of the council. The purpose is reported by its members that we have done the consultation, no representations were received from interested parties, and we're looking for members to confirm approval of the scheme and note the inclusion of the additional polling districts within the new Inverclyde and Berkshire West County constituency. Happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Strachan? Can we agree the recommendations? Thank you. Item number 4 on the agenda on page 13. The interim monitoring officer arrangements. Chief Executive, please.
Good afternoon, members. The purpose of the report is to ask the council for approval from me to be able to seek an interim monitoring officer to an interim basis to pending the successful, hopefully, recruitment of a new head of legal, digital and demographic and customer services. We'll also note in 2024 we expect there to be an election, and I'm asking for approval to get some support in relation to election support, particularly if there's a snap election during the period that we're without our head of legal, demographics, digital and customer service. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the Chief Executive? Can we agree the recommendations on page 13?
Agreed.
Thank you. The next 2 items are remits from the committee. Management rules for museums and libraries in Inverclyde, a remit from the Education and Community Committee. Mr. Strachan, please, page 17.
Thank you, Promise. So, yeah, remit from Education Communities Committee considered these management rules at its 23 January meeting. There were no objections or representations made following during the statutory consultation, and these need to come to full council for approval. So that's what we're looking for approval today, and delegating authority to take all actions necessary to formally make the management rules. Happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions from Mr. Strachan at this stage? Can we agree the recommendation of page 17?
Agreed.
Thank you. Item number 6 on the agenda, elected membership representation in the town board. It's a remit from the Environment and Regeneration Committee. Mr. Strachan, please.
Thank you, Paul. Yes, a remit here to elect two elected members onto the new the town board for Greenwich. Reports will be considered by the Environment and Regeneration Committee, but elected member appointments are reserved to full council. Have to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Strachan. Are there any questions at this stage from Mr. Strachan? If not, can we have any nominations for the position? Councillor Kane.
Yes, thank you, of course. I'd like to nominate my colleague, Councillor Brennan, and by Councillor Paul to say. I'm happy to say Councillor Brennan.
Thank you. Do we have a further nomination? Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Provost. I would like to nominate Councillor Robertson with Councillor Corder seconded. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to endorse the proposal that Councillor Robertson be on the new town board. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cowler. Thank you, Councillor Armstrong. Are there any further nominations for the town board? Then I would declare that these two members of the council are elected to the town board. Thank you. Item number 7 on the agenda. The literati guide to Inverclyde the Spring Clean 2024. It's a motion by Councillor McCluskey that we found on page 49. Councillor McCluskey.
Thank you, Provost. Many of us across this chamber will have taken part in litter picks with the literati group over recent years. I think probably speak for all of us when I say they do a great job of keeping the area clean, and obviously are supported by our own council waste services teams in making sure the bags of rubbish, the many bags of rubbish that they collect, get to where they need to be. The literati have now been operating in Inverclyde for 6 years, and they've grown their network of litter pickers, though they wanted me to emphasise today that there's never going to be enough. So if people would encourage more volunteers through their own networks. In my own ward in Goor, I've participated in litter picks on Tower Hill, and there's now also a monthly event to coincide with the farmers market, and I'd encourage anyone who is able to join them. The scale of what they've achieved in the recent past is significant. So in 2023, they had 741 people take part across 102 events, collecting 1,086 bags of rubbish. And so far this year alone, so just since the 1st of January, they've collected almost a metric tonne of litter across Inverclyde. Possibly not a celebration. We would hope that people would take their own litter home, but for as long as it remains a problem, I'm glad that they're here to do the job that they do. They've been an anchor group of the Keep Scotland Beautiful group for some time, and this year they'll be participating in the big spring clean, which takes place from the middle of March to the 28th of April. And the team locally are nothing if not ambitious, and they want to try and clean the entire shoreline of Inverclyde from Port Glasgow right down to Inverkip and Weems Bay over the course of a month. They've chosen to concentrate on the shoreline because they'll all be well versed now in the difficulty of the pollution in the ocean, and 80% of the litter that ends up in the ocean comes from land. So this is a direct impact on keeping our seas and our rivers clean, and also on the quality of the sea for marine life. So today I'd like to congratulate the Literati Group for their work in keeping Inverclyde beautiful. I'd also ask all members to communicate the message from this motion on their own social media channels and any other networks they've got, and also to join the launch that they're going to be having at Park Lee on the 15th of March. Thank you, Provost. I move the motion.
Thank you, Councillor McCluskey. Councillor Cassidy.
Thank you, Provost. I'm happy to second the motion before us in support of the Keep Scotland Beautiful Spring Clean 2024, which is an integral part of the Great British Spring Clean 2024. And I wish to start by expressing my gratitude for the commendable efforts of our local environmental champions, Literati Guide to Inverclyde, who are spearheading the big Inverclyde beach cleans the entirety of Inverclyde shoreline as part of the Spring Clean 2024. Last year, the Spring Clean Scotland, facilitated by Keep Scotland Beautiful, witnessed an impressive turnout of over 30,000 individuals, including 16,000 youth participants engaged in more than 1,700 events across all Scotland's 32 local authorities. Together, these dedicated volunteers collected a staggering 280 tonnes of litter, and in Keep Scotland Beautiful, looking at 97% increase in green pickups. The estimated value of the amount of volunteer hours was an astonishing £660,000. These statistics underscore the profound impact of the collective action in combating litter and fostering a sense of national unity and pride. And according to Keep Scotland Beautiful's 2023 litter survey, 90% of Scots acknowledge litter as a significant issue. That's the highest figure in 3 years, with 73% encountering litter frequently. Locally, the tireless efforts of litter event Inverclyde have been exemplary over the past 6 years, with 741 volunteers participating in 102 events in 2023 alone, contributing 1,482 volunteer hours, removing 1,086 bags, totaling 5,430 kilos of litter. Their commitment is exemplified by the 6 groups, including 2 in my own ward, the Inverclyde Litter Pickers and Wednesday Baywatch, of which I'm honoured to be a founding member of. And I'm proud of the fact that our dedicated, hard-working environmental staff in this council work in partnership with all these groups. The forthcoming Inverclyde Beach Clean Challenge transcends mere action. It symbolises a steadfast commitment to preserving the natural beauty of Inverclyde and signifies a pivotal moment in our collective journey towards a cleaner and healthier environment. The scourge of litter not only mars our landscape, but also imperils wildlife, ecosystems, and our own well-being. Alarmingly, 2.7 million tonnes of plastic enter the sea annually. That's a truck full of litter every minute. Each piece of litter collectively serves as a poignant reminder of our impact and underscores the urgent need for collective action. The Big Beach Clean presents an opportunity to rewrite this narrative, reclaiming our bond with nature and rejecting apathy in favour of environmental stewardship. We're blessed to have the River Clyde at our doorsteps, but this privilege comes with the responsibility to safeguard this precious asset. And I'm optimistic that actions that will be undertaken during the Inverclyde Beach Clean will resonate beyond the coastline, inspiring hope and responsibility within our communities to join hand in hand and endeavour we not only cleanse our environment but also strengthen the social fabric of our community, demonstrating the power of collective purpose. And as my colleague Mr McCluskey just encouraged you all to hopefully get out and participate in these swing things, I will join you in that encouragement as well. And I hope that we all get out there and support and clean ups as they happen and help reaffirm our commitment to environmental stewardship by leading by example. Together, let's pave the way for a cleaner, brighter future for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Castleton. The floor is open for any member who wishes to participate. Councillor Reynolds, please.
Thanks, Provost. I'm delighted to wholeheartedly support this motion. The background has been adequately covered by my 2 colleagues here. My first involvement with Literati Inverclyde volunteers began in March 2021 with its predecessor, the Clean Cut crew, as well as spending many a Saturday morning up the cut, and the nearby roads and reservoirs have helped in other areas alongside many committed volunteers such as the Hillbillies, Inverclyde Beach, Bowes Reservoir, Tower Hill, Battery Park, Coastline and others. And many of these volunteers, when they can't make the designated time, do a pick in their own time as well. In 2022, I took part in the nationwide awareness raising project, the Big Plastic Count, and supported Literati's Play a Clean Game. For the past year or so, I've concentrated my time along the Gourock coastline with Literati and its monthly clean-ups in my own ward, as I know Councillor Cassidy has done in Ramsgate in his ward. It's obvious from my 3-year involvement and the stats that Literati have produced that this is a problem that is not easily solved. So any initiative that highlights these issues, raises awareness and informs our communities has my full support. I therefore fully endorse the promotion and launch of Spring Clean 2024 for Inverclyde's coastline. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Reynolds. Are there any else to speak? Can we agree? Also,
If I just,
Councillor Fowler.
just very quickly, I wholeheartedly support the motion that's been put before us. And while it's on the shoreline, as a sea angler, I used to fish the shoreline throughout the full length of Inverclyde. I know that there will be, especially if the tide is out, if there could well be fishing tackle is recovered. But the one that I'm interested in is if there's any lead weights that are recovered, I would be willing to accept them so that they can be smelted down and produced into other lead weights that I would then present to the Real Sea Angling Club, who are a voluntary group and fish every Sunday from the walkway at Hartsburn. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fowler. Can we agree this notice of motion? Thank you. And now we come to the extra item, the closure of EE call centre. Notice of motion by Councillor McCluskey. Now, before I go to Councillor McCluskey, there is an amendment that I'm aware of from the SNP group. And what I'm going to do is put the meeting into recess for 5 minutes. We'll distribute these amendments for your perusal, and I think that will enhance the debate.
I really don't need to see it now. Yeah, just get this guy.
Yeah, we may last. Maybe that's not fine.
So they're not automatically deleted now.
I'll do it. It's not good.
Thank you. Councillor Maguire, Councillor Daisley, you'll have seen it has been sent to your mobile numbers, the notice of motion, but I will read it out to Councillor McCluskey's motion. Add to this motion a request that we direct the services and resources of the council and our partners to help the 400 plus staff members who are directly affected in the context. Add to this motion a request for BT to articulate fully legacy arrangements that they will put in place. Legacy of staff, travel, childcare, flexible working packages proportionate to length of service. Legacy of site. There is a long relationship with this site as an employment route for people in Inverclyde, and we should be pressing for alternative uses for the site to be considered at pace. That's the proposed amendment. Councillor currently has approached me and he has articulated something that myself and Mr. Strachan spoke about earlier, and that was that there has been a lot of negotiations going on in this past week, and I think it would be perfectly acceptable at this stage for members to ask officers any questions relating to the ongoing deliberations, and I think this might help enhance the debate as we go forward. So the floor is open for any members wishing to address the officers as to the position currently. Councillor Cullen.
I think, first of all, thank you, Provost. I think it's important because this has been a long and difficult week for a lot of people in Inverclyde, thinking their jobs were secure in Greenock, and now being told by their employer that they want to move the jobs to Glasgow. And so I'd be interested to first of all, as general for officers to advise, and maybe other members as appropriate, what discussions have taken place with respect to BT on this matter and their view for the future of the site and their operations on the site. BT is a big group. Obviously there's other opportunities maybe within BT group, and what have they considered with respect to that. And also the paper here talks about redundancies, and I think there's been discussion on redundancies, whether or not the BT have confirmed will there be redundancies and as part of this process, or is this what they call it, a part of how do you say, not a compulsory redundancy process, but a voluntary redundancy if people do not want to move to Glasgow. So it'd be important to try and get some information about some of these informations, and also with respect to the site itself. Is BT the owner of the site? Are they the leasing site? And if they're the leasee, what discussions are taking place with the owner of the site for uses? I know that's going into what the substance of our motion is, but and also just to confirm, prior to Thursday, what discussions BT had with officers of the council with respect to the future of the site at Greenock, because obviously it came as a surprise for everybody, but I was wondering if officers confirmed that BT and no point reached out to Inverclyde Council with respect to the provision of the future of the site in Greenock.
Thank you, Councillor Curley. I think before we go to officers, I think the person best placed to answer your questions is the leader of the council. Councillor McKay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just a bit uncomfortable with this process, to be perfectly honest. When two elected members of the council put forward a motion, and that's the substance of the item before us. It's not a report from officers or indeed myself on the situation at EE. There was ample opportunity potentially earlier in the agenda and the minutes to raise the matter, or for people to ask to put the matter on the agenda as a separate item for information. But that having been said, I accept your particular guidance in terms of this matter, Provost. And I wasn't, of course, any discussion or debate we were going to have. I was going to give an update and indeed invite officers to give an update as well. So the reality is I welcome the motion being put forward, and obviously the motion does request I do certain things. I already started doing those certain things. So in terms of what's happened since last Thursday, the council was unaware until the rumours started circulating on Wednesday night of a full staff meeting, and the fact that Mr Jimson can confirm this, we were alerted by the office of the MP that there was a full staff meeting, and then obviously through individual personal channels we were aware of a staff meeting. So there was no prior contact with the council, no prior information provided to the council, and subsequent discussion would suggest there was no prior information given to the Scottish Government or Scottish Enterprise or any other agency. So obviously it was a shock when we were advised. So I did immediately request that the Director of Environment Regeneration engage with the government and our partners and indeed the company. And I'm going to invite Stuart at some point to obviously give an update in the officer level discussions. I also did ask Stuart to set up a meeting with the BT group, which took place yesterday morning at 8 o'clock. I had a busy morning yesterday appearing in Good Morning Scotland, and then straight in the meeting with BT EE, so myself, the Director and Chief Executive from there. And I have to say, I did make it abundantly clear, and I thought I was speaking on behalf of the council, to be perfectly honest at the time. I did make it abundantly clear to those representatives that the council opposes the closure plan due to the devastating impact that it will have on the Inverclyde economy. And I did say that we intend to engage with the Scottish Government and this agency to develop a joint offer of support to persuade the company to reverse the decision. Members will be aware that today I did write to Mary Allen, who is the Cabinet Secretary for the Wellbeing of the Economy, Net Zero and Energy, seeking an urgent meeting to discuss what support package could be put into place. I also met yesterday with Stuart O'Malley, who is the Joint Chair of the Inverclyde Task Force, and we agreed that you would be on the agenda. And sure, we'll be making representations obviously to the Scottish Government as well. And the next meeting of the task force is on Tuesday, so that gives us the opportunity to engage both the Scottish Government and the UK Government representative on the task force. Stuart and I and Louise asked a number of questions around the proposals. We were essentially trying to understand what was the business case for the closure. Clearly, if they're carrying proper options appraisal, remember that discussion in this chamber around the future of Greenock Police Station, they should be examining the option of retaining the existing site or moving to the alternative site in Glasgow. The people we met with really couldn't answer many of our questions, to be perfectly honest. They weren't clear about what the options of appraisal were. There weren't any property people there. But to answer the specific question raised by Councillor Hurley, the building is not owned by EE or BT. It's in private ownership, owned by a private company. So I can't swear, I suppose, to the amendments there, but I don't necessarily think they think they've got much responsibility other than being a landlord in terms of any arrangements for terminating the lease. So we are going to be engaging hopefully with the government. We are going to be seeing what can be done, what sort of package can be put together to try and persuade the BT group to stay in Inverclyde. And I think what we also wanted to understand is that EE or its forerunner came to Inverclyde because we had an enterprise zone established by the Thatcher government in the 1980s. And that's how we got the Royal Bank of Scotland houses in Cigna. And enterprise zones provide financial incentives to attract companies into areas where there's a lack of jobs. And Inverclyde in the 1980s was certainly an area where there's a lack of jobs. So I think we should be looking in the 2020s to our governments, both the UK and the Scottish Government, to recognise that there's been a huge hemorrhage of jobs from this community in the last year or so, nearly 1,200 as outlined in my letter to the Cabinet Secretary. And I think we should be expecting that the government should step up to the mark and should be supporting us. I attended a meeting of the Glasgow City Regional Cabinet on Tuesday, and there was a number of issues and items on the agenda, a number of policy initiatives and funding streams that are looking to bring growth to the Glasgow City Region economy. Investment zones being one example of that. But a lot of these initiatives involve economies of scale. They involve the involvement of educational institutions like universities. A lot of them are difficult to apply in a place like Inverclyde. But the reality is, if we're going to have an inclusive Scotland, then this government needs to be serious about its inclusive growth agenda. The UK government needs to be serious about the levelling up agenda, and an area of Inverclyde is an area that requires support both from the UK and the Scottish governments to ensure that we can be competitive both in retaining the jobs we've got and attracting new jobs. And I hope that would be the focus of any work that we're doing as a council over the coming weeks and months, rather than at this stage thinking too much about legacy. And in terms of supporting the workforce, the promise that's made by BT, TE is that there's a job for everybody in Glasgow who wants it. There isn't at this point in time a redundancy situation. Therefore, at this point in time, the PACE arrangements do not apply. And Skills Development Scotland, who lead the PACE arrangements in partnership with ourselves, are not directly involved at this stage. We may face a redundancy situation where people feel due to their own personal circumstances they're not able to take up the offer of a job in Glasgow, and that apply. And we can start thinking about the future of the building as well. We're going to turn it into a police station or a college or whatever. The focus for this council should be retaining jobs in Inverclyde. The focus for this council should be in terms of trying to keep those jobs here, or if we can't keep these jobs here, try to fill up that call centre with paid employment, not fill it up with 30 police officers, to be perfectly honest. So I just think we need to be careful about the messages that we're sending out here today as a council. We need to be standing up and demanding that we get the help to keep these jobs here. So I'm going to pass over to Stuart now, who can come in and some of the detail, but you can be assured over the coming weeks, just as we did with Texas Instruments. We're not taking no for an answer at this point in time, to be perfectly honest. When Texas Instruments announced the closure, we were told we wouldn't save Texas Instruments. We were told those jobs were going to the Far East or to Eastern Europe, but we persevered with our task force on Texas Instruments. It took us over 2 years, but we persevered. We kept it in the government. And eventually a buyer was found at the 11th hour, and the government came up with £15 million of financial support. We got a wee bit of money in as well to ensure that that plant was kept open and was modernised and can have a successful long life for the future of this community. So let's try and keep the focus and try to save the jobs, not in trying to facilitate the jobs movement to Glasgow, to be perfectly honest. But Stuart, do you want to come in and provide an update?
Mr Jimison, please. Is there
Provost.
anything you'd like to add to?
The Leader of the Council has provided a comprehensive update in terms of just some points of detail that he's not covered. BT are proposing that the staff relocate to the Alexander Bain facility in Glasgow, citing that the operation of the Greenup facility was no longer viable. What we identified is that Mapley Delta Acquisitions Company are the owners of the facility. What the people that we talked to couldn't identify was how long the lease, whether there was an affordable break in that lease, how much the dilapidations would be on the property, and indeed how much was spent on the new Dundee facility, which British Telecom are making live in the not too distant future. That's all I can add to what the leaders said, Provost, because he was very comprehensive.
Thank you, Mr Johnson. Can I just, on behalf of the members of the council here, thank the Leader of the Council, the Chief Executive, and Mr Jimison, for the work that they have put in over the last few days. And of course, Councillor McCabe, bringing you in at this stage does not negate you from taking part in the debate proper that we're going ahead with. Councillor McCluskey, please.
Thank you, Provost. So I think that's a very useful update to provide context for the debate that we'll have on this motion. I think everyone in this chamber probably either knows someone who works at EE or has worked at EE or one of its predecessors, because it's been here for decades and has provided thousands of jobs over the years. And today, as we know, the site employs 450 people. It's one of the largest private sector employers in Inverclyde. And the news last week was a blow to the community, but not just to the community and those individuals affected, but also to our local economy. And while BT Group has made much of their promise of no redundancies, that's good news for the individuals concerned. But it still has no regard to the loss of the jobs from the local economy, and that's where I want to focus my remarks today. These job losses come on the back of similar losses over the last 18 months at Amazon, at IBM, at BPI, Webhelp and Wilco. It brings the total number of jobs lost in that period to well over 1,000. And by way of comparison, there's 25,000 employee jobs in Inverclyde. So these losses represent around 4% of all the jobs lost in the last 18 months. And every job lost to the local economy is a loss not just of income, but a loss of spending power in our shops, and it's a loss of work further down the supply chain in many local businesses. It's also a loss of opportunity. So how many people got their first step onto the employment ladder because of work at one of these employers? How many people found themselves perhaps in Inverclyde without ever thinking they would be in Inverclyde because of a job that they took at EE or one of the other places where we've lost jobs over the last 18 months? And all of us in this chamber are working every day to try and reinvigorate Inverclyde. So what message does it send to possible investors or possible new residents of our area about our prospects? We all know in this chamber the potential in this area, and we know that we can be better than this, and it absolutely doesn't have to be this way. Businesses the length and breadth of Britain are cutting back, centralising operations and leaving communities like ours to deal with the consequences. And much of it, and I'm sure we'll hear this from others this afternoon, is the result of actions of the UK government. an inflation crisis that's driven up costs and an economic crisis that today has led us into a recession. But when I look at this most recent decision by EE and the job losses that have come over recent time and in the past week, you would expect this to trigger some kind of response by government. You would expect there to be more action, but it hasn't. We have been asking the Scottish Government for months for support through the Inverclyde Socio-Economic Task Force, as Councillor McCabe has already referred to. In August, the Leader of the Council wrote to the Government with £70 million worth of proposals for investment. 6 months on, we're still waiting for the Scottish Government to provide a single penny. And now, as the job losses mount to over 1,000, we still have complete and utter silence from the Scottish Government on action they will take to invest in Inverclyde. And this is a point I've made a number of times in committees in this chamber, but the priority for the Scottish Government has been to invest in the East Coast and not in the West. And we're seeing the consequences of that now. As I've mentioned before, our population has declined while Midlothian, parts of Fife, East Lothian have boomed. And when we were demanding support from the Scottish Government for regeneration efforts 7 years ago, Dundee, and we've heard that BT is also now investing in Dundee, was receiving over 60 million of government investment. Why does all this support have to flow east? And once again, it doesn't have to be this way. So I would ask the government to look again at the letter sent by the Leader and our member of the Scottish Parliament and provide the support that we've asked for before it's too late. We need this support in this area. We can't keep going on demanding more support and for it never to come. Finally, I just want to turn briefly to the resolutions in the motion, and then also just to address the amendment that's been put forward. The most important thing about the resolutions in this motion is it calls on us to oppose the closure plan. In my view, and I think we'll probably speak for the rest of the Labour group on this, our job is not to sit by and accept things as they are, but to try and change minds. And that's why the Leader of the Council has already spoken to BT. I intend to meet with the BT group this weekend. I've already spoken with the CWU's Regional Secretary yesterday about their plans, about the union's plans to fight for jobs on the site. But from our local SNP, MP and MSP, all we've really had here is waving the white flag. And I have to say this is turning into a pattern of behaviour, and it's not one that any of us should tolerate. Our MP tells us the closure of our police station is an opportunity. Our MSP says that he accepts changes to GP out of our services in our area, while the community tell us something else. And now they both told us that they've given up on fighting for the EE site to remain open and for those jobs to stay in our local area. It is an absolute dereliction of duty. And as the Leader of the Council has already said, our job in this chamber should be to concentrate on opposing the closure and fighting the job losses, and not just rolling over and thinking about what might come afterwards, as important as that is. So while I'll accept this amendment today, the focus should be on the first 3 points in the motion, which are about opposing the closure, not about accepting the closure going forward and moving immediately to think about legacy. I would say if people in this community can't count on our MP and MSP to fight for what's already here, what hope is there that they'll fight for anything to come and to actually make anything better? The least we as councillors of all parties and none can do for the workers at EE, for our local economy, is to fight for these jobs, fight for more investment and fight for a better deal for everyone across Inverclyde. I move the motion.
Thank you, Councillor McCluskey. Councillor Potter, please, second the motion.
Yeah, thanks, Thomas. I'll second this motion. I actually had a speech ready and then read Stephen's excellent speech to my McCallum. And what I would say is, if any members have not read it yet, please do so. Stephen's speech, there's some judgment, and he's asking for help and fight. So I commend Stephen already for the letter he has said. What I would say is councillors, we've been here, some of us have been here a long time. And what we do know is the two biggest challenges that face Inverclyde is the depopulation area and the poverty in this area. Now, we've been, we can say, look at the schools we've done, look at the modernisation of the schools, look at the fantastic work Louise and Stuart's done in getting infrastructure money going into Inverclyde through the Levelling Up Fund, the Town Centre Fund, we know that's one thing, but we know what we really do need is jobs. Jobs elsewhere, the repopulation areas, and jobs elsewhere alleviating poverty. It's the one way that they ensure that our kids don't live in poverty, and that's have jobs in the area. And I think that is key, because we've already said here the jobs we've lost over the last year. But these were firms that just came in, and these are firms that were here for a long, long time. You know, these firms that are IBM, firms that Signal. You know, I started the old Crusader building, which was the Bank of Scotland, in 1989. You know, we went through that. I went through the whole idea of moving to Glasgow with jobs and having that takeaway, having to move up to Glasgow and then move to Liverpool, believe it or not. And then I said, enough's enough. We can't go that far. So there is that idea of moving somewhere else to find employment. I accept that. But what we do, first of all, is we find here in Inverclyde for every job that we can in Inverclyde. And I think that's very important. What I would actually, my two main items I would like to raise on the motion are the role of Scottish Government, the role of Scottish enterprise, and the role of the second region. And I think that's right to look at that. We've already heard from Stuart, and if people have looked at it, we can actually see where did we lose the Sigma jobs to? We lost it to Glasgow. Where did we lose the EE jobs to? Glasgow. So there is a role there, second region, to actually say, well, okay, are we doing churning jobs now? There's been a vast investment in the Dundee EE. There's been a vast investment in the Alexander Bay facility Stuart was talking about. I would love to know how much public money went into these facilities. We've heard so much criticism in the past about overheating of down south, the southeast of the country. So much overheating. And we all complained that was because of the policies of the Tory government. Why give even more money to areas of overheating? But we're seeing that in Scotland. We're seeing that in the Lothians, and we're seeing it in these sides of the country, And we can't do different. And I would say in the Scottish Government that a few years ago we had that opportunity to have the Scottish Social Security building here in Glenelg. They had the land, they had the opportunity to make a big difference in Inverclyde. And we never took it that point. And when I say we, I'm talking about Scotland in general, to put a facility that came from the UK government to Scotland and put it in one of the most deprived areas of Scotland. Instead of what we do, again, put it to Glasgow and Dundee. And I think for us in Inverclyde, we've got to look and we've got to understand that every job that we've got now is precious. In a few weeks' time, we're going to set a budget for the council. And we will have choices. And is our choice going to be to make more people redundant from the council? Or is our choice going to be enough's enough? Let's try and retrain every job we can in Inverclyde. And that will be a choice that we're going to have in a few weeks' time. So I thank Mark for bringing that forward. But really, jobs are key for Inverclyde. And we've got to fight to retain every single job we can in the council in the So thank you for this.
Thank you, Councillor Fogarty. No, Councillor Ryan?
Councillor Robinson.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Robinson. It was the way you pointed on.
I think that's what it is. Yeah. I was going to speak to an amendment if that's possible and close.
Yes.
Is that okay? I think it's true. I think it's right that we do continue to engage with the governments in terms of this particular context. I think that's why you're asking for things to be added rather than those particular elements being taken away from this motion. But I also think, given that we have a responsibility to try and retain as many jobs here in Inverclyde as we can, we also have a couple of other obligations that we should bear in mind as well, one of which is to really strike the balance carefully of not providing false hope in any way, shape or form to the workforce who are in the context of the potential move from BT. That's really important that we bear that in mind also. And so that's why we've added the other elements to this through amendment, because, and I'm going to use a phrase that Councillor McCluskey used there, doing things before it's too late. If we don't cover legacy as another route, as another aspect to this of what might happen, then we could miss out. And by we, I mean the 450 families who are directly affected by this. So we just feel as a group that has to be covered also, so that a really robust coverage of this has been considered by us in this chamber. I'm going to refer now to some things that Councillor McCabe said about the situation we had previously with Texas Instruments, and then we've now moved on to a situation last year with Amazon, and now we have a situation this year with EEBT. And I think those progressive situations and coming round to that type of event happening, that type of situation happening in our area again and again has led me to believe, and us as a group to believe, that we maybe do need to stop the bus for a couple of times. And if I could ask, I would ask on behalf of our group that, as well as adding the bits that we've added with our amendment, that we take out the bits of motion that relate to the task force, not because we don't want to deal with them, but because we think they are so crucial to be dealt with, and that actually the points that have been made about the task force are so significant that they shouldn't merely be tagged on at the end or within the middle of a motion regarding the EE. I'm not sure that the city region, Glasgow City region, is currently working for Inverclyde. I'm not sure that us being a strategic priority for Scottish enterprise is working for Inverclyde. And I actually think it's getting to the point where, Provost, the context that we set when we set up the task force, where we asked our governments to look at merely the pots of funding that are already available in Scotland, we're kind of beyond that. We are now at a stage of saying it's not just about the money that's already there. We've had over 1,000 jobs leave the area in the course of a year. We go round the circle of these types of contexts being before us, and probably we do need to actually see it's a special case, an absolute special case for Inverclyde. And I would like to ask that we take out the bits of this motion that are about the task force, and that we spend some time together bringing forward a more robust motion that is genuinely tackling these elements and set in a different context, and actually doing this differently and together set out to both governments, to our partners, and to the wider context of the economic situation of Inverclyde is such that we need to do something very different, not just something that's added on to the EU motion. So, Provost, that's our full request in terms of our amendment.
Thank you. Do you have a second?
Thank you. We second this motion on behalf of the SNP group. I think I noticed some comments earlier from Councillor McCluskey with respect to accept the motion with the additions, but maybe not the subtractions, because I know you're not aware about that. I know it's not in the motion. But do give us a little bit of leeway, because we've obviously got motion of your motion earlier on. So we notified the motion earlier on, and of course it takes time for us to develop our own thoughts and ideas of these things. I'm pleased to let the call to this motion and this amendment, and I think it's important. And a number of elements I agree with what's been said in this chamber. So it's not just the jobs that people in EEBT. It's the future jobs that are there, because this was an inward investment. Councillor McCabe says this was the enterprise that brought this to Inverclyde, along with the various other developments along the waterfront, replacements for what was deemed to be the old industries. We're now in a situation now where we're looking at reinvesting in these industries again, which is all one comes around, I suppose. But it just shows you that we have 450 jobs in Inverclyde. We don't know exactly how many are locally protected by local people, but as Councillor McCluskey said, we all know somebody who works in the facility or has been trained for the facility and has went on to work elsewhere. And that's the importance of having this facility within Inverclyde. It's not just the jobs that are here, but it's the infrastructure it provides for employment and for skills and for people developing through a facility like this and onto other parts of their career. And that brings value and that brings what you call it, economic potential to individuals and families and to us as a community. So yes, we wholeheartedly agree that we want to see that facility retain additional for another. BT Group is a wide group, so they've made a decision, assuming on for this particular aspect of their group to go to Glasgow. But we need to engage with BT. What other aspects of their group can be undertaken in Inverclyde? I'm aware that when the proposal for BT first took over was that it's become a small business centre, development stuff. Why is that no longer a part of the agenda? This is something we need to say to BT. Why have you changed your plan here? Why is it not just a case of making this a standalone centre? Why is it now demolished? It's going to be able to call it set aside and removed and the jobs taken to Glasgow. Okay, this is jobs that we can actually, people in Inverclyde can still look, but that's going to be because of an impact, as I've said before. Another thing, obviously, is looking at how we can then engage with what is the course, what is the real reason behind this? Why was our plan possibly to reinvest in why similar to what they've done in Dundee? And I take the comments about public money. I'm very interested to see if any public money has been involved in both Dundee and Glasgow. When I looked at it, I can't see there being any public money there. It seems to be a private deal between BT and another developer in Dundee to move the existing jobs there to the new office block. Similarly, in Glasgow, it seems to be there's been a deal done to improve the infrastructure there. But why can there not be a deal done in Greenham? This is a facility that's 20 years old. It's on the waterfront. It's well connected. I don't agree with the concept that we somehow all jobs have to go to Glasgow. We're close enough to Glasgow that we should be able to work on the system. And I agree wholeheartedly with my colleagues' comments. If this is what the City region is doing, I think this is a great idea. Hold on, this is not. It's just a centralisation of Glasgow, and we can't have that. So this is why we agree wholeheartedly with this aspect of it, keeping the jobs in Inverclyde and getting that facility utilised again. But as my colleague said, we've also got to have a focus on those 450 individuals who've had the hardest week possible. The jobs, though they say it's been taken away from them, their whole what they call economic outlook is probably upended. They don't know exactly what the future's going to be. Can they take this job in Glasgow? Can they not? It does take time, so we have to have that focus as well on the 450. And so it's important that no matter what happens in the next few months, and notice that it's November, the decision would be to close the facility, that the BT are not allowed to walk away from here and Inverclyde. It's not just a simple deal for them. You should be making it clear for them it's not a simple deal. It's not a simple landlord-tenant deal and they're moving to a new place. They've got responsibility. Their legacy company came, Inverclyde, has provided sustainable jobs for 20 years, has helped our workforce develop people new skills. They've got to stand up to that responsibility that their legacy company got when they took money to get these jobs to Inverclyde. And I think that's very important. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Scully. Councillor McCabe, please.
Yeah, thank you. And I agree wholeheartedly, I have to say, with some of those closing remarks there about Councillor Cowley. And I have to tell you, Councillor Cowley, I didn't miss BT when I met with them in Wednesday morning. You can be assured of that. I left them in no uncertain terms about the fact that they've had 25 years in this community, the blood, sweat and toil of this community in 25 years, and that they're simply the offer of giving people extra money for 2 years to pay their extra cost to travel to Glasgow. Do you think that's a legacy? Of course it's not a legacy, but I have to say, the SNP group are tying themselves knots here. And I think they're tying yourselves knots because you're trying to play a political game, to be perfectly honest. Right? We're happy and fine. We're happy and fine to add the amendments. So the primary focus at this point in time, for the reasons I made earlier on, should be about trying to convince BT to remain in Inverclyde. not to facilitate their movement out there in Inverclyde. But we will rise to our responsibilities at the appropriate time in terms of supporting the workforce. Absolutely, we will press the points in our ongoing engagement around legacy. But the reality is you're asking us to take things out of the motion. Right? Wait a minute. The motion, the council knows. That's facts. We're not in facts, right? The council believes. Do you not believe what's written there? The council resolves. Do you not believe anything that's resolved? Why do you want to take out the motion? It's absurd. Absolutely absurd that you want to take things out of the motion. And nobody but nobody, and I'm getting angry, because we're talking about jobs, we're talking about people's livelihoods, right? Nobody but nobody is giving anybody false hope. We are taking on one of the biggest companies in the United Kingdom, an economic giant, We're not under any illusions about what we're up against. We're not under any illusions about the size of the challenge here, right? But if we can have the support of the Scottish Government and perhaps the UK Government working with us, perhaps we can come up with a credible package that might convince them to at least look again. There are two options. You keep the workforce in Greenock where it is, you refurbish the building, and that becomes it's more economically viable than transferring to Glasgow and all the costs of paying the extra travel. There's two simple propositions here. Our job, working with government, is to try and make that a more attractive option than going to Glasgow. Because you know where we're heading? Where we're heading is Inverclyde being a dormitory town for Glasgow. That's where we're heading, right? And that's not where I want Inverclyde to be. People in Inverclyde absolutely need to travel out to work. I travelled for 20 odd years to Glasgow to work. Jim travelled for many years to Glasgow to work. Others have travelled to Glasgow to work. But we can't have our whole population travel to Glasgow to work. We need people working here, spending money in the economy, investing money in the economy. We need jobs. We've known for decades that the fundamental challenges faced by this community, as Jim's highlighted, resolves around jobs. That's why we convinced Mrs Thatcher to give us an enterprise loan in the 1980s when we were hemorrhaging jobs when the shipyards were closing. We've suffered the loss of the IBM. 5,000 jobs we lost in IBM. 5,000 jobs, 10,000 in the shipyards. Right? We've hemorrhaged jobs. We've got very few large private sector employers. The council is by far the largest employer in Inverclyde, by far the largest, and we are looking at cutting back in jobs. We need jobs for the future of our community. So we can't simply, I'm sorry, say it's a fait accompli, as the MP for the area has said. It's a fait accompli. That undermines what I'm trying to do, undermines what the Scottish Government's trying to do when the MP for the area is coming into the room with BT and saying, oh, it's a fait accompli, right? How do we make the best of a bad lot? We're trying to get into BT and convince them to change their mind. We should all be united on this. And I would encourage Chris, I would encourage you to be asking for a meeting with BT, right? And put the very points that you've been making here today. Have that meeting, right? I know Stuart McMillan's intending to have a meeting with them. I know today they're meeting with the Scottish Government stads, I think it is. And everybody in here, and I can guarantee that the Labour MSPs representing this region will be engaging with BT and making the case. We all need to make the case collectively. And unfortunately, I'm sorry, but requests for us to dilute the content of this motion only but undermines our chances of keeping these jobs here. And the fact we're actually having this debate in this chamber today undermines our ability to keep these jobs here. I thought that was an uncontroversial motion, to be perfectly honest. Absolutely. And in the course of the debate, you could have got up and said, right, okay, we fully support the efforts to keep the jobs here, but we do need to be mindful that there are issues that we decide ultimately that need to be addressed, support for workforce and legacy. Absolutely, right? Look at Amazon, right? Look at Amazon. We engaged with Amazon, they weren't interested. Right? They weren't interested. Nah, you can't do anything, you can't offer anything. The facility's too small, we're moving out of the area, right? And then we said, right, okay, we need to support that workforce. We need to help them, right? And we need to think about how do we actually replace those 300 jobs in Inverclyde? And we need to talk to the Scottish Government. and we discussed it through the task force as well. And those 300 jobs, those 300 people have evaporated. Because nobody can tell the Inverclyde task force where those 300 people are today. We've spoken to the company, we've asked the government to speak to the companies. Well, we've spoken to Skills Development Scotland, and nobody can answer the question. Where do those 300 people go? How many moved into alternative employment? How many people retired? Right? How many moved out of the area? How many stayed? Nobody can tell us the answer to that question. And as for legacy, where is the legacy? There is no legacy. I've not seen any legacy. Has anybody seen any legacy? No, I've not seen any legacy. Right? And as for the empty factory down there, it's still lying empty. They had the lease in the bill. It's coming up, I think, but coming to an end. And we're actually actively engaging with the owners of the building to try and see what can be done to make that building attractive, to attract more employment into the area. But the first thing to do now, when we're faced with this crisis, is try and come together and try and fight to save the jobs. No, as one of my colleagues has said, wave the white flag. And I'm sorry that the SNP group in this council were in danger of raising the white flag just like Ronnie Cow and Stuart McMillan is.
Councillor Miranda and Councillor McNichols.
Aye, thanks, Provost. Provost, I'm really so disappointed that we're having this debate today. Because like Councillor McCabe, I thought it was a motion that everybody would be happy to support. But obviously, it's not that case now. But I'm not going to give you a history lesson yet. But we here in Inverclyde have been feeling the pain for many years. And John Crowder knows his name well. We worked in heavy industry. And when they demolished the shipyards and the heavy engineering and all that, it wasn't just the job there. For every job in there, it supported another 4 or 5 jobs outside. So even today's reckoning, if we lost 1,000 direct jobs, that's maybe 3,000 people who are feeling the pain of that action. So it's important that we remember that as well. It's not just the people directly employed, it's the subcontractors, it's the supply chain, all that goes hand in hand within a facility that's working properly. Now, Jim was talking about our education system here, and it really breaks my heart because our biggest export I can see is for young people. It shouldn't go to university. Where do they end up? Is it Glasgow? Is it Edinburgh? It's always somewhere else there in Inverclyde. This is a real disgrace, and it needs governments to help us. Steve was talking Margaret Thatcher. Margaret Thatcher came here, she went to Deb's Hill, and she's so shocked that she says, we need to do something about this. There's nobody else ever come down and say the same thing. If it's not fighting for our college, if it's not fighting for a hospital, if it's not fighting for our NHS, we're always fighting. Why is somebody going to listen to our arguments? It's about time someone did. Now, we're always talking about the great transport links between here and Glasgow. That's good advantage for people wanting to live here in Inverclyde. But it didn't seem to be the cure for people leaving. My niece has just come back from Australia. She's been there for years. Her and her husband have got a nice house in Inverclyde. But both of them are working in Glasgow. It would be fantastic if we could have brought them back to Australia and give them a job here in Inverclyde, where they want to be settled. I just hope they stay here. I really doubt the way things are going, I think probably going the next day playing in Australia once they realise how bad the state Inverclyde is at the moment. I was promised, I sat in that chair, I was going to continually shout and bawling and tell people how good it was here. You know, about the cup, the 5th best walk in the whole of Scotland. Every time you run a corner, I look at our Gaelic hills. We've got an environment second to none. We've got so much going for us, but we need a help. We need the Scottish Government, the British Government, everyone to now realise that we've got a real problem here in Inverclyde. And the only way we can fix this problem is to be together. I've been in a lot of councils. I've been in this council first with 2 women. That was Cathy Allen and Maggie Morrison. I look around here now and I see a far better spread. I see all the people we have here. It's probably the most successful council I've ever been in because we agree in so many things. And I don't want us to fall out over this. I think if we just sit down, take a deep breath and say, the motion's there, if Martin's happy to take the amendments, we move forward on it. Not just for my sake, for your sake, but for everyone. And more importantly, the young people not through their school. It's if they finish school, they go to university, they come back here and live, and that's the role for repopulation of our own people, and maybe get some people to live here.
Thank you. Councillor McBain and Councillor Armstrong, please.
Yes, thank you, Thomas, and thank you for Councillor bringing this motion here today, and members for their contributions to date. We have a motion and an amendment, and obviously it's for Councillor McCluskey where he wishes to accept the amendment. But I'm looking at it, Provost, and I have to say, in reading the Telegraph the other day, it is an acceptance closure, and that is the last option we should be looking at this stage. We should be doing everything we can, leaving no stone unturned, challenging BTEE to do what we can to save these jobs and keep them in Inverclyde. And the Texas Instruments example is an excellent example where hard work by government ministers, local officers, local politicians, and a wee bit of investment in that factory, and it's now booming and going from strength to strength. That's where we should be going. Councillor Curley wants to keep the jobs in Inverclyde. Absolutely. So let's have a motion or an amendment which strengthens the hand of officers, of the leader of the council, of the Scottish Government, of Scottish Government officials in protecting the jobs and saving them here in Inverclyde, Provost. And I wish the task force well and everything they do to try and keep these jobs here in Inverclyde. Thank you, Provost.
Thank you. Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Provost. Yes, we want more jobs, we want better jobs, and we want jobs closer to home. I don't think anyone will disagree with that. Our amendment, a part was put forward because we felt that the motion as written did not acknowledge enough the 450 individuals and families directly involved. That's why we put forward the amendment. The issue about why we think reference to the task force and indeed Glasgow City Region should be taken out is because we believe that those are a wider issue. This motion is the closure of EE call centre. We do not feel it is appropriate to, in a minor way, wrap up what we may feel about the efficacy of the task force and Glasgow City Region should be tacked on in that kind of way. So we want it taken out, not taken out and forgotten, but taken out and dealt with as a bigger, separate issue. I think the comments about Texas are well made. Unfortunately, the comments about Amazon remind us what happens when it doesn't go well, when there isn't a focus on legacy. Thank you. I would like to support the amendment as presented by Councillor Robertson.
Thank you, Councillor Armstrong. Councillor Brennan and Councillor Jackson next.
Thanks very much, Thomas, and thanks to Councillors McCluskey and Clougherty for bringing this motion. I just wanted to make some points in respect of the amendment, and I have huge respect for Councillor Robertson, as many in this chamber know. That's why I was disappointed and surprised to hear that the amendment was brought, because we don't want to give people false hope. It's not false hope, it's just commitment to retaining job opportunities for Inverclyde, and that's something that we should always have hope about. I don't know what the alternative is. Is it management of decline? Is it shrugging our shoulders? People say it's the hope that kills you, but here in Inverclyde we know better than most that it's not the hope that kills you. It's health inequalities, it's lack of opportunities, it's extreme poverty. And all of us around this chamber sit here in service in education, communities, social work and social care, environment and regeneration, where the golden thread is that hope of mitigating the impact of poverty and addressing it, tackling it head on. Councillor McCluskey, Councillor Clougherty and Councillor McCabe set that out really clearly already. And the way to do that is about fighting for job and opportunities here in Inverclyde that give that route out of poverty into economic strength and security. If we don't hope for that and work for that and commit to that as elected members, then I'm not really sure what our purpose here is, or how we would be able to look at 450 EE employees expecting us to fight for them in the eye.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Councillor Jackson.
Thanks, Provost. And I know Councillor McCabe on the ones we talked to the kind of the high level of management. No, but I've been speaking over the last few days to some of the union guys, the reps, the workers themselves. I think one of the things we're going to have to do here is look at it from the workers' perspective. Nobody leaves school with aspirations to get into a call centre. Let's be honest here, these aren't the high skilled technical jobs. These are low paid jobs. So what you're talking about here is people who are doing 12-hour shifts. They don't know from one day to the next which shift they're going to be on. They don't travel together because they're on different shifts, so they can't carpool to go to Glasgow, so they can't. So these are low paid workers who are going to have to find £50–60 a week to get to Glasgow and back. Now, the brass tacks of it is the truth is most of these workers, once the free travel goes, they will not be able to afford to go to Glasgow, and their jobs will be lost. They will look for alternative jobs. So, as much as this is going to hit the local Inverclyde economy, to think these 400 jobs are going to go to Glasgow and back, spend their money locally, that's not going to happen. No, I'm not getting that EE. These jobs are what they are. Call centres go to areas where there's high unemployment. It's what Stephen was talking about with Thatcher and setting up these areas. But these are low skilled jobs. People take these jobs because they're full time, which is very hard to get in an area for 0 hours contracts, plus they're local. They don't have to, they're not out of pocket, so they're not. The fear is, and I've spoken to these union guys, their workers are saying, we'll be able to afford it until the travel concession goes. Then that's it, we need to get out. A 12-hour shift, a lot of these guys last year did 12-hour shifts. This is a 14-hour day, which they're going to travel on a Sunday. We all know about the train service, how that's just a joke, so it is. I'm really disappointed, as everybody else, with the comments from the MP. There's an old saying in the trade union movement, if you fight, there's a chance you might lose. But if you don't fight, you definitely lose. And the comments by the MP and the MSP have undermined, before they've even started, the negotiations, the trade unions with the council leader. And that has not done anybody any favour, so it's not. And I just hope that our MP remember that. If they're not doing anybody any favour with the comments they've made so far. There's been plenty of examples with companies who have announced closures. Texas Instruments being one of them. With trade union and political support, these decisions have been overturned. Don't throw in the towel yet. Give these workers hope and stop this nonsense about legacy. Fight for what we've got at a minute and try and keep these jobs here.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor.
Thank you very much, Provost. Yeah, it was a very interesting context to hear the debate across the chamber. My contribution had been that the fact that we have what's becoming a Domesday town, which is a phrase that obviously Councillor McCabe has always used because it was the challenge that I've seen. And looking at what we've seen in the press, it is very disappointing that we have this potential closure from BTE. The challenge I have is that we have to continue, and I think Provost, we do a sterling job. I know Mr. Jibs is on the call, or in the meeting on the call. We have a culture of business here, and we need to maintain that culture of business. And to retain is much, much easier than to attract new. But I want to say to the officer, we do have good work to create a culture for business. We have an investment opportunity, whether the money comes from UK taxpayer through UK government or Scottish taxpayer through Scottish government, I don't care. We get investment from money from obviously the governments that we obviously work with and work for. So that investment can come in, and it's when we have the political will, and I'm not in politics here, the political will of members of parliament to get money investment is what we need. And everyone needs to shout that. I applaud Labour are doing that with regional MSPs. I'm certainly doing it with our regional MSPs, and I know that yes, the SNP is doing it with the representatives. However, they're responding in Telegraph.
I'll leave for others to comment. But council, sorry, August, outside Inverclyde is a place I'm not going to suggest that I speak more than others. I don't know that there are 21 councillors speak to outside Inverclyde, but I do spend a lot of time. Harrogate this weekend, or last weekend, and next weekend I'll often go to Wolverhampton. When I'm speaking to people about Inverclyde, I end up having to be in the back foot all the time. My job seems to be to defend Inverclyde because people want to talk it down from outside. And it's usually through ignorance or through the media. And the challenge we have here is we have a business and we have to ensure that we keep it here. So no matter what the motion might say or might not say, no matter what the motion or the amendment will contribute, I believe it's already accepted, the written amendment has been accepted, although maybe the verbal one won't be. I'll leave that for the two movers to come. This has to be a fight for jobs. This has to be reality, that we keep these jobs in Inverclyde and we don't turn in the Donkstown. I'm sick and tired of defending Inverclyde. I want to tell people good things, not have to be on the back foot all the time. And there's the point the finger at me, and they seem to not laugh, that's the wrong phrase, but they seem to have a negative attitude. And the businessmen I met at Harrogate last weekend were very pleased to hear the good things. If only we can get that sorted more. So I commend Mr. Jimson and all the work he does for business and culture and business investment, and we're willing to show the deal and make that continue.
Thank you, Councillor Brooks. Councillor McCluskey. Councillor McGuire, do you wish to come in?
Okay, Councillor McCluskey first.
No. Councillor McCluskey.
Thank you, Provost. Just like to thank all members for their contribution this afternoon. I'll address some of the points as I just go through the summing up.
Oh, sorry, can I just confirm, Councillor McCluskey, are you summing up right now? Because I do have a comment to make on this. I thought you were coming back in with a comment.
I'll defer to the Provost on.
Sorry,
Could
Councillor
you repeat that, please, Councillor McGuire?
Yes, thank you. I was wanting to come in to make a comment on the item before us today. I just want to check, is Councillor McCluskey summing up right now, or is he addressing the chamber capacity?
Yes, please come in, Councillor McGuire.
Thank you. Sorry, Councillor McCluskey. I just want to say that I echo the comments of my colleagues. I think this is an important motion in that we need to try to do what we can to save jobs in our area. EE, when it was T-Mobile, was my first job in what I would call the corporate world, and got paid much more fairly than some of the other jobs for people my age. And I've taken some of the skills that I built here throughout my working life, and I still use them to this day. I think that the Region Beyond Inverclyde Task Force from this motion diminishes the important role that each of these things have in protecting and improving Inverclyde's economic future. This council continually has to mitigate the choices and at times lack a strong pushback and representation from our local MP and MSP. We need to stand up for our area to ensure that we have sustainable jobs and opportunities to build a bright and hopeful future for people, so that people choose to not only stay here for years to come, but so that people will move to our area. This is yet another nail in our coffin, and I thank Councillor McCluskey for bringing this motion before us today, because I think it is important that we do stand up to fight for jobs in our area. Thank you, Provost, and thank you, Councillor McCluskey, for letting me come in.
Thank you, Councillor McCluskey. Would you like to sum up this?
Thank you, Provost. I was just saying before Councillor McGuire came in there, I just wanted to thank all members for their contribution. I think we can hear from the contributions that were made this afternoon in many quarters the frustration that's felt over this, and not just the frustration over the actions of the company, but the frustrations over the actions of governments in relation to the investment in the area, and also in relation to remarks that have been made. Our first thoughts, and I think all of the thoughts of people in here, as we've heard all the way through from from Councillor Robertson, from Councillor McCabe, from Councillor Brennan, we are thinking about what is best for the workforce. And the best thing for the workforce is for those jobs to stay in Inverclyde, and the best thing for the local economy is for those jobs to stay in Inverclyde. I think, though, that a lot of the workforce would probably be looking on askance at this debate today, that a motion that appears relatively uncontroversial has potentially prompted the council to divide. Now, I am more than happy to accept what's on this piece of paper. This is fine. I've told you what my concerns are with it, that we need to be prioritising what's in the first 3 points in the motion. I'm not willing to strip out what's in the motion about the socio-economic task force, because I think that is more about sparing the blushes of the Scottish Government and the SNP than it is about any wider effort to examine the actions of the socio-economic task force. And I would like to draw Councillor Curley back. Councillor, listening to the SNP contributions, and particularly Councillor Curley's, I don't for a second question the intentions or the passion or the feelings communicated by Councillor Curley, but the reason why we're talking about white flags being hoisted is because of what the MP and the MSP have said to the local media. Now, just for the benefit of anyone that didn't read those comments, and I'm sure many of us did, this is what the MP said: "I am convinced there is no chance of EE keeping any kind of presence in Inverclyde. This closure has been in the pipeline for some considerable time." And this is what the MSP said: "One thing that is clear is that the site will be closing. There will be no change of direction and no amount of wishful thinking will alter this." Councillor Curley talked about other business units coming on to the site. According to the MSP from his own party, that would be wishful thinking that isn't going to alter anything. That is the reason why we're having this, why we've ended up having this debate today, because of comments that have been made in the press. And the question that I would pose to our MP and MSP is, if businesses that may be thinking of investing or alternatively withdrawing from Inverclyde see these comments, what does it say? It's basically, you can walk all over us. We'll just sit there and say, you know, you take the jobs away, that's fine. That's what those comments say to me. And like I said in my remarks at the start, that is a complete dereliction of duty. The absolute bare minimum that we should be able to expect from our MPs and MSPs in this area is that when jobs are under threat, when businesses are threatening to withdraw from our local economy, that they stand up and fight for those job losses. And that's not what we've seen. So while I'll accept this amendment, I'm not going to take out the references to the socio-economic task force, either in point 4 or in point 9, because it is a disgrace that we haven't received a penny of support as a result of the socio-economic task force from the Scottish Government. We have heard Councillor Moran, Councillor McCabe talk about Margaret Thatcher in the 1980s. We know how much destruction that Margaret Thatcher brought in this area. We're still living with the consequences now. But we hear from Councillor McCabe that it's because of Margaret Thatcher that we had an economic investment zone. Even the UK government, even the Tory UK government, has provided money through the town board that we discussed earlier on the agenda and the Levelling Up Fund. But we still haven't seen a penny through the socio-economic task force from the Scottish Government. The problem is not with the socio-economic task force. The problem is with the Scottish Government not contributing any money towards the projects we have asked them to. The MSP put its name on £70 million worth of projects that would be ready to begin, and we still haven't had a penny from it. So my appeal to the SNP group, and again, I don't doubt the sincerity of people, of colleagues in the SNP group about this site and these jobs. I would appeal to them to have conversations with their parliamentary colleagues about the language that they use when referring to these jobs, and ask themselves the question of whether that is helpful when we are trying to maintain our local economy. And I would also just finally appeal that we don't divide over this. I am happy to accept what's on this sheet of paper. The amendment that was put forward at the start of the meeting, happy to accept it. I don't want to strip out references to the socio-economic task force. Thank you, Provost.
Thank you, Councillor McCluskey. We've had motion from Councillor McCluskey. We've had an amendment from Councillor Robertson. I don't think we need to take this to a vote. The way I'm looking at this just now.
It's just a point of order, well, question really, just to help me know how best to proceed, because I'm similarly, I'm okay for us to take out the the reductions and taking out task force things. The only thing I'm concerned about, and I would like some advice on this, is that then hamstrings us as a council from being able to discuss this sort of bigger change that I think we need to talk about our relationship with City Region, our relationship with Scottish Enterprise, and all those things. If we make a decision on that, I just want to check that we're still able to kind of freely discuss that without that being something we can't talk about for 6 months.
No, I don't, I'm not getting a reading from this at all.
So, you know, if the amender, so the proposal and second of both the motion and the amendment are happy to adjust the wording, then that's fine. I don't think, you know, if it's silent in here on things, that doesn't prevent the council doing what it wants to do. And so I don't see any concerns about it being the council being hamstrung.
Well, I think you're perfectly correct, Mr. Bracken, that there are no forward implications from this. So therefore, I would ask this council to accept this motion, particularly things that have not already been done on it. And as Councillor McKenna said, there's a lot of things that have been done, and also accept the amendment, which Councillor McCluskey said he's going to do, for suggestions that should be put in place.
Just the recommendation.
Suggestions that should be put in place in due course. Regards to this red herring of the Inverclyde Task Force, that is not part of the amendment, the written amendment, and therefore can we have an agreement between this whole council as that is the way we're going forward there. Thank you, everybody. At 5:30 right now, there is the elections results for the Scottish Youth Parliament, which I have to go and attend, and I would appreciate as many of you as possible to join me and